Happy Monday, Houston. I'm KUTU 11 meteorologist Kim Castro. We got our day started with a couple of loud storms. Might have woken you up with all that thunder and the lightning. Now, we continue to have pretty elevated chances of seeing storms throughout this week. Notice 70% for tomorrow, 80% for Wednesday, Thursday, 70% still on Friday, and even as we go into the weekend, we only drop the rain chances ever so slightly. So this week is going to be stormy. That's the bottom line. Radar right now, if you are trying to see whether you can go outside to grab lunch or run some errands, you're good to go for a couple of hours. We're nice and quiet. I'll show you what this morning looked like though, so you get an idea of what you can expect throughout the rest of the week. Notice some boundaries really lifted up, a lot of moisture, and made for a really messy start to the day, especially if you got started early. So this was a time lapse between 5 and 9 o'clock this morning. Within that time frame, we accumulated some substantial rain. Tomball area got about 2 inches of rain, and then right along Cypress, Wedgwood Park, this is the neighborhood weather network, so we could get actual measurements of the rainfall, about 1 3/4 inches. So that's pretty significant, 3/10 I should say. Still, all in all, about 1 to 2 inches for Tomball to Cypress, and then even 1 inch of rainfall within the loop. So from Galleria to River Oaks, you saw anywhere between 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And this is just round one of many storm chances that we've got. In fact, we even have another chance for storms this afternoon. We'll start off with what we're looking at right now. So this is a shot at our tower cams. This takes a look from Fresno and points northeast. So looking closer towards Sugar Land and then eventually Beltway 8. 83 degrees right now, an 8-degree drop from yesterday. And that's just because of the rain-cooled air. So it does make it feel better when we have some relief from the shower activity. And so that is the one upside of having to muscle through several storm chances this week. Now looking at Hobby Airport, you'll notice the sun is back. There's actually very little cloud cover out there. One thing to note about this though, sunshine reheats the atmosphere. So what do we need for severe storms? We need moisture, which we have plenty of. You can probably feel the humidity coming from Galveston. We need heat, which provides instability. So if temperatures at the surface are warmer than temperatures aloft, they'll want to rise. And then we need lift, something to scoop up that energy and provide even more of a force. And we get those with either fronts or boundaries. And we've got several boundaries working in for not just today, but the next few days. So the next chance for us to see a spike in storm potential will be this afternoon, I think between 3 even into this early evening. And so for that reason, try to be flexible with your plans. In fact, if you typically head out the door, let's say around 4, you might want to check radar as you're doing that, because I think that's the time frame that we're going to have the strongest activity along the I-10 corridor. So if you travel from the energy corridor, if you're trying to get downtown or maybe away from downtown going through the East Freeway, that's when you could have some significant impacts with heavy rain, but also the threat for a couple of strong to severe storms. Because we've got all the ingredients in place for severe weather, I am issuing a weather impact alert. So 3 to 8 o'clock tonight, I think that's when we're going to get the strongest storm potential. And the Storm Prediction Center has even elevated a risk for severe weather today. So it was previously a level 1 on the 1 to 5 scale. Now we're at a level 2. And you'll notice the area in yellow with that higher risk does include all of Harris County. It includes Sugar Land, Richmond, so Fort Bend up to Montgomery, so the Woodlands. You're also at risk for the severe storms. Even though all the threats are on the table, I think the highest concern today is going to be wind. So a 15% chance to see some impactful wind, which would be 50, 60 mile an hour gusts that could cause some damage. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Flood risk is there today, but it's not the highest. I don't think that the amount of rainfall we get today is going to be the problem. Later on this week, though, it could start to be a problem. Back-to-back rainy days does lead to some oversaturated soils, too much accumulation, et cetera, et cetera. So while today there is a flood risk, it's marginal, so it's the lowest, and it doesn't include all of us. Now, with that incoming storm chance tomorrow, Wednesday, through the weekend, that's several rounds of quite a bit of moisture. So then that's when I could start to see the possibility of higher chances with high water spots, localized street flooding. I think through Thursday, we could see a widespread 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, and some spots could pick up 5, maybe even more. I mean, again, this early morning, Tomball to Cypress, several spots got 1 to 2 inches already. And that's just, the very, very beginning of this really unsettled pattern. So we talked about today's severe threat. Now I want to show you tomorrow, because there is a severe threat tomorrow. It's a little lower than today, but it's there. And again, for Wednesday, we've got at least a level 1 threat for severe weather. At this point, if you live east of downtown, Liberty, Anahuac, San Jacinto Polk, going down to Galveston, you have less risk. Okay, I think you'll still see thunderstorms, but maybe the stronger ones won't be targeting your particular neighborhood. Now, if you live on the west side, Sugar Land, Richmond, if you live in Katy, Tomball, Cypress, then yes, you continue to have a threat for severe weather even into Wednesday. And then check back in with me throughout the week, because we'll start getting that threat for severe weather Thursday, Friday, maybe even into the weekend. So let me show you what the rest of the week looks like. We talked about this afternoon storm potential. Again, 3 to 8, that's when your weather impact alert lies. For tomorrow, a chance for some early morning storms. Now, I think this is mainly going to impact our northern cities and counties. I think this first line fizzles out before getting to Houston, but daytime heating re-energizes the atmosphere, and we've got the potential of more storms passing through the heart of the city again for the late afternoon into the evening. All right, that takes us through Tuesday. How about Wednesday? I think Wednesday morning is going to be an issue. So you'll notice storms develop now mainly along the I-10 corridor into the coastline. So this is going to include I-10, 288, Gulf Freeway, East Freeway. So all of us have a shot at seeing a pretty messy commute for Wednesday. And then another chance for storms even into the afternoon. Looking at your Thursday, much of the same, another boundary pushing in here and bringing us more storm potential through Thursday. The good thing with the rain, though, is that we get rain-cooled air. So this week is not going to be as hot as last week was. Now take that with a grain of salt. It's still pretty warm. Can't really avoid that this time of year, but when we do see the downpours, we do see a nice drop in temperature. So Bryan College Station, still 11 degrees, less hot, not cooler, but less hot than where we were yesterday. Downtown, 4-degree drop. Galveston, a 4-degree drop. This is actually a shot towards Pleasure Pier, just pointed up a little bit higher. I'm going to have to go in there and manually tilt it back down. But the bottom line that it shows is a clear sky. It's sunny right now, 85 degrees, beautiful beach day, but dew points are really high, so that's the measure of moisture. There's plenty of fuel coming in from Galveston to recharge the atmosphere to bring us more storms later on today. So that's what the models are picking up on. High temperature today, 94 degrees. So with this heating, we are going to still get above average for this time of year, which should be 92 degrees. Above average through your Tuesday. I think Wednesday and Thursday, those storms coming in for the afternoon are going to inhibit some of the daytime heating. So I think we max out in the upper 80s, a couple degrees below average. Then we should be right at average for Friday through the weekend. So at least we're backing off from the upper 90s that we've had the last couple of days. Let's have a check at the tropics for you. It is hurricane season, and so we're keeping an eye on the Atlantic. Luckily, no storms developing for the next 7 days. We've got some good Saharan dust out there that is suppressing that activity. But where we lack in the tropics, we're making up for it in your local forecast. I mean, look at these storm chances widespread, a good chunk of the week. You'll notice at least a 50, 60, 70, even 80% chance for some storms, and not ruling out the possibility of some of these becoming strong as well. So with that in mind, you remember to watch the forecast at least once a day and try to keep in mind that particular time frames are going to be more troublesome than others, and that's when the weather team issues a weather impact alert. So we don't want to say, hey, the whole day is a wash, don't do anything. We got to get places, we got to, fulfill our responsibilities, but when we do issue that time frame for a weather impact alert, that's when you really want to avoid travel. So if you can, make your plans for before the time frame or after the time frame, that would be recommended. Remember, today's weather impact alert time frame is 3 to 8 o'clock. So watch radar during that time, and then we should be at least taking a little break before we get right back at it with more storms tomorrow. Have a great week, guys, and stay dry.